Kaygin, founder and CEO of Hirize, an AI company transforming how organizations understand and process unstructured data. A long-time AI entrepreneur and a former headhunter, Esra has spent more than a decade challenging the limitations of traditional recruiting systems. Today, Hirize processes millions of documents every month and is building AI powered infrastructure that goes far beyond just simple keyword matching, helping enterprises turn information into intelligence. Welcome to the Scaling with Clarity podcast, Ezra.
Hi, Maxim. How are you? Thanks for having me.
It's my pleasure. It's a Saturday morning, hence why I'm looking so casual, but I'm looking to the conversation and better understanding what you're building. So why don't we start with the founder story? Kind of like how did you get into venture and entrepreneurship?
That's a very old story. So I studied economics and I graduated in 2009, which the ones who are a little bit older know that that was probably the worst time to be an economics graduate. So I worked as a headhunter, and there I saw that we had multiple repetitive tasks such as scheduling with and then my neighbor back then, he was a developer. So I went to him and I said, how can we automate this? And we started together my first startup. And it was an AI based or very basic AI compared to what we have now, of course, but it was an AI based scheduling tool, also an API like I have now. And I worked on that for 2 years. And then I exited that in Holland to a CRM system. And after that, I took a break. But I worked as a partner at a venture capital firm for 7 years, where we invested in, first marketplaces, fintech, the usuals. But later on, in our second fund, we went into deep tech, lab grown meat, semiconductors, lab grown diamonds, defense force, very early on, defense force. And 4 years ago, I quit that job because I wanted to get back into entrepreneurship. And I was looking into what we could do with AI because I was following what OpenAI was doing back then before it was ChatGPT. I was one of the early users of ChatGPT, the beta ones. And I understood that a new wave was coming, and I wanted to tap into that. And that's how we started High It started as, extracting data from documents, mainly for it's a platform-based HR businesses, and then we grew into finance and healthcare. Now we have 7 verticals in total. So that is actually my entrepreneurship journey.
Amazing. What um, what propelled you to focus specifically on or essentially start building high rise? What problem did you see that you're like, okay, no, this is worth solving?
Well, I started High Rise because I think a little bit like with the confidence you get when you're on the venture side or the investment side. I thought, well, HR tech is such a big market, but we don't see these big unicorns in that vertical. So I'm gonna solve that. That was the problem that I was gonna try to solve.
Mhm.
And then we started off with a workflow. The initial goal was to build a SaaS based platform, and early on we decided to use a third party parser. 70% of SaaS platforms or
Mhm.
platform based businesses use a third party parser. So we did the same, and we used the one that I used in my previous startup. And
Makes sense.
very early on, I saw that the technology hasn't changed. The accuracy was very low. So we needed, in order to develop something that is truly AI based, as the standards of AI that we know today, so the extraction of data or the feeding of data into these models, it wasn't good enough.
Mm-hmm.
So we needed to build our own parser. Once we did that, I started to talk with other entrepreneurs, and they were like, "Oh, well, this is actually really big problems for us as well. If you solved it, can we use your parser too?"
Mm-hmm.
That moment, we were like, "Oh, this is actually a really big problem, and it's a true pain point because it sells itself."
Yeah.
That's how we started.
And so, what was the evolution from like, okay, well, we need to be the parser. The parser is to read resumes, or what are we using the parser for? Because I mean, I know that in the ventures that we built, like we're trying to read through purchase orders, through invoices, through shipping documents, through bills of lading, through custom, and it's not that easy, especially because the information doesn't necessarily match. Like it's not like the if a product is listed this way, it's listed the same way across five different documents.
Yeah. So we had, I think we built a database for
Hmm.
close to 2 years
Okay.
because you have all these variations on one word. So you need the whole family tree, the mother, the daughter, etc.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's why you start with, just one vertical and then you grow into another
Hmm.
one. And once you know how to fix all the problems, you grow into another one. But what
Yeah.
parsing is, and what we actually do is intelligent document processing, IDP, because parsing is actually solved mainly. So the
Hmm.
extraction of one field that you can find in a document,
Yeah.
taking that data, word or
Yeah.
number, that
Yeah.
data, putting it in the right box, that's parsing. It's
Yeah.
sorting of words and meaning from a document, or could be also an image, of course, but taking these words and meanings and put it in the right box, sorting them.
Hmm.
What we do different is we connect a meaning to them, and we also cross check if that, the information is relevant, if it makes sense, what the
Yeah.
confidence score of that, meaning, that word or the, you know, box of text is. What that
Hmm.
means is that, for example, when you look at an invoice, you check if the subtotal is accurate, all the line items. If
Hmm.
if the sum total is correct, the amount that needed to be paid in the time frame, and if it was paid, you can check that. And we can
Hmm.
also label these documents so we can connect them later on, if especially when you're a SaaS platform, is very important, because you want to connect multiple work documents within one workflow. For a healthcare SaaS platform, or a platform could be, your invoice, your insurance policy, and then your lab results. And then you have one idea. So I go to a doctor, get my lab results, insurance is paid or it is covered. Then I got an invoice. So that's what you need to do. So when you do that on a level like that, you start to develop something that is called, in our industry, intelligent document processing, because it is intelligent. And then you also have the capability to develop agentic AI, or highly more developed AI. So that is what we do. How we do that? We have a three-layered system. So the basic OCR parsing, that is even open source available. That is also something that we use. But then we have the system that enriches data. We also have a confidence score, and then we check the accuracy of the total documents. We do that by token counts, and then we check if it's accurate. And if it's not accurate, we let you know that we were not able to parse or extract data from that field on a highly accurate percentage. So everything that is below 90%, we flag that, we let you know that we weren't able to parse. That's also information for us, because that's how we retrain our model.
What are kind of like the? I mean,
I mean, we are an API based startup, so you plug it in another, technology company. It is very important to know when you want to visualize what we do,
yeah.
just to let you know.
No, no. I mean, I'm loving this. We're building a product at the moment, and this has been a big challenge for us. And as I described, um, what you see in one document is not it's not the same what you see in another document. It's the same product, but it just the way that it shows up And so, like our ideal circumstance was to use a voice, like a voice interface, whether it's 11 Labs or whether it's like WhatsApp, then have an intelligent document processing tool or something like that that kind of reads it and it can match this, because our ideal circumstance is to be able to create purchase orders, update purchase orders, allow the teams to interact using their voice or text, to be able to do things. And we're seeing it firsthand. Like you would request something and it would partially match and it would partially execute. It's like, well, I couldn't match those things. And so I think this would be, well, at least in our case, this is a big problem because if we can create an 80% of purchase order, that's good, that's better. But ideally, I want to get to 100% accuracy and get 100% accuracy every time. So how would uh, how would companies use it? They would just plug it in within their own system as an API. Kind of like walk me through what are the most common use cases, or what are the first cases that use your API?
So the first use cases that we had were, HR tech startups.
Okay.
So no, applicant tracking systems and job boards used what
Yeah.
we built. So job boards, when a candidate applies for a job, they upload
Mhm.
their resume. You need to populate the field, so you upload your resume. You
Yep.
don't want to, you don't want to use lose a user at that stage. You want to keep
Yeah.
them. If I have to fill in that much, you know
Yeah.
they churn, you lose them. So that's where they were used, and then later on we were used in the matching of candidates because
Hmm.
we extract data so well. You can also match that data then a lot better.
Yeah.
And then we started with Neuralink, and what they had was they had a lot of applicants. I mean, it's a top company, everybody wants to
Hmm.
work there. I think they had millions of applicants. Well,
Hmm.
let's say something like that. It's a couple years ago now.
Wow.
So they had, let's say a million applicants for all the jobs within a year. How can you match that against the 60 jobs that you have? That is, humanly not possible. So with them, we built, a matching system that was based on the requirements that they have from people. With them, they want to see, how exceptional you are. So they have the exceptional ability
Hmm.
framework, I think. So we build something that tests people's exceptional abilities by three really simple questions. Look at the data that we extracted from the resume, match that against the job, and then eliminate all the people that or reject, the people
Hmm.
that were not capable of taking on such a heavy job because it's all really critical work
Hmm.
that they do. And then do a one-on-one with all the people that had a high confidence score on the exceptional ability score. So when we saw that, we started to see how you can, take the data, take an AI based model, so the intelligence of what you want to do, and then um, implement that within a platform by using Highrise.
Hmm.
So today we have a lot more customers that are building an intelligent workflow within their platform, and to feed that intelligence, they use the high-rise,
Hmm.
document data extractor. The reason is because you get more data.
Of course.
The reason is intelligence works as well, the best when you have the most information.
Agreed.
uh, People who know, have higher IQs, more information, read more books, watch more podcasts. Um, they are overall more capable than someone who is not able to do all of these things. So that is the same for the intelligent models. So that's where companies now started to use high-rise a lot more. Um, and we see, agentic AI is fueling that even more.
Agreed. I mean, so many questions that come into mind.
Yeah,
Um, but
because
we,
because the thing is that when you have more accurate data, you can let agent do the work without you having to
Of
be
course.
afraid that it's gonna fail
Mm-hmm.
because it's gonna, say or think something wrong, make decisions, and then book some customer on the wrong spot or make a
Okay.
wrong decision. Yeah.
So do you envision that every human is going to have their own model that they've trained and perfected that the agents execute on top of?
I mean, we already have that, right?
In what ways? Just kind of like the memory that's captured within an LLM, or
Yeah, I mean, what you have in an LLM, you can, especially with Claude, this shouldn't be like an advertisement, but especially
Mhm,
with Claude, you can plug it into many other tools. You can have it answer your emails. I think if you work a bit on it, you can have it answer your phone calls. But there are
mhm,
tools to do that already. So
mhm,
if you cluster them all together, I have my own CRM that manages my life. Refrigerators become, intelligent. I saw one, it, sees everything that you put in the refrigerator and then tells you what you can
mhm,
prepare and what you should throw out. um, can you imagine something that tells me, and I could probably set it up now, like you have to wake up at this time, you have to take
mhm,
these vitamins, supplements to be healthy, because last week you did your blood work, you have to achieve these goals for your career, you have to sell this much for your,
mhm,
we all, if you put it all together, we are already there. But the question is it intelligence? Not yet. It's not at that
mhm.
intelligence level yet.
And so, and I would agree with you. And a lot of the information is orphaned. And can you pull it all together? Of course you can. So how do we get to that intelligence level where something is making decisions for us on the simple things, and just giving us decision framework for the harder things?
Well, the thing is that we we as an AI community, that the people who work in this field, who are trying to be groundbreaking and push the boundaries of what is what AI is capable, and I think that we also have a role in that. We have the responsibility of developing these models and making them more intelligent, so
Mm-hmm.
increase their IQ in general. Um, for that to happen, you need, data centers, but you also need information to feed these models.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where we come in. So most of the models that we know, they've already consumed all the information that is available on the internet.
Yeah.
But there is also a lot of information out there that is not digitalized yet. And I can I know that because we have big customers that that who are digitizing all the information that they have in boxes or
Mm-hmm.
ancient Sumerian tablets. We have it all. All that information needs to be digitized and fed into
Mm-hmm.
these models. I think some companies are going to come with, upload your, we're going to, you can upload all your diaries and we're going to make a live story video. That's a hack. And then they're going to take all that data and then train AI models like what the
Yeah.
Pokemon Go game did. All that data that we have, and I have a lot of notebooks, but all the data that is not digital, they're gonna go for that. And
Mm-hmm.
in order to extract that data, you're gonna need Highrise. You're gonna need a tool that is able to extract that data with high accuracy and in a safe environment. We have a
Mm-hmm.
very safe environment. We never had a leak, we don't see information, we have all the certifications. I think it's also very important to keep that data safe while you work with it.
So I want to double click on something what you said, because I couldn't agree more with what you're saying, and you gave the Pokemon Go example. And for those people that don't know, what Pokemon Go did is essentially you have Google Maps, and Google Maps get you to the building or get you to kind of the live the environment in an outdoor settings. And Pokemon Go allow you to extend this beyond by you navigating around specific areas. And so it's an acquisition of data via, it's essentially, I guess, augmented reality, do you see like more and more of these happening where we're acquiring data, what is true, like AR glasses or other ways, and kind of using this to continuously enrich the data set that we have? And yeah, go ahead.
But do you mean by is the data that we collect is someone is going to hack, what Pokemon Go did to, cheat a little to get information from people? Well, it's a
Yeah,
little bit cheating.
yeah. Um, I mean, what startup doesn't cheat in the beginning?
I think everybody cheats. When
Exactly.
I was an investor, I always said, what is your advantage that, you
Yeah,
couldn't tell just everybody,
yeah,
but it's going to get you ahead. What is your hack?
yeah,
How are you hacking this? And it's all in a legal framework, but there is a hack. So with Uber, I think it was, or was it Waze? One of those. I think we spoke with them, and I asked them, not Uber, but another, company that does the driver experience. He said, well, we put these cars, more cars on the map. So when you open, it looks like, oh, there's so many cars.
please.
And Uber
Yeah,
also does that. You're like, oh,
yeah,
I'm going to be here
yeah.
in a couple of minutes. I got so many cars. Even when we know, we see it and we're
It's
like,
all,
I even have that. I'm like, oh, there's so many cars. I'm going to get
yeah, yeah. Of
it.
course.
And I do get it in a minute, but it's not that car that I saw on the map. So everybody cheats a little bit within a
Yeah,
legal framework. It happens. And
yeah,
then you also have people who are, afraid that their data is not out there and they want to clean out their data from the internet. I mean, you could do that, and I have great respect for everybody's choice, but I don't feel like there is much to hide for
mm-hmm.
me. And if there's something that I don't want to be on, that I don't want to be on the internet, just don't put it online or on a
Yeah,
computer. Just write it down on my notebook.
yeah,
Um, so it's gonna happen. Like there is not a lot of privacy. Uh, just create your own privacy. But what is gonna happen when people know my age and my date of birth and place? Nothing. However, personally, I don't want my DNA sequence out there, so I
yeah,
don't do 23andMe. Everybody has their own guardrails.
yeah.
So there are going to be companies who are going to try to hack getting data, personal
Mm-hmm.
data, or stories that
Mm-hmm.
is written in notebooks, to get that out, get it online, and then sell that data. It's going to happen. I mean, it's
Yeah,
unavoidable.
yeah. But I feel like,
Is it fair? No.
well, sure, but also, I mean, sure, more and more data, more of our personal data is available online, but also the advancement in terms of how data is protected and security are advancing. I mean, like, how many apps still use like just passwords? Is very rare. You will have like a second factor of authentication. You might have a third factor. You may use biometrics. You might like. I feel like everything will advance in a commensurate way where it becomes really hard for somebody else to use your data.
Or very easy, and then it doesn't become that valuable enough. If
Hmm.
if data is very easy to access, and there is like a big flow of data of a customer profile like me,
Yep.
then I don't
Yep.
become that important anymore. But if it's the more we close it off, I think it's going to be more valuable, and they're going to find more creative or even sinister ways to find it. So I'm not against the data transparency.
Yeah.
However, I would love for countries or companies to safeguard that data. But then again, I mean, we hear about countries that got hacked on the government level, and then the data of all the citizens was on the dark web. So there is not a lot of privacy there left anymore. Maybe it's even better if there's just so much data around that it doesn't matter anymore,
Hmm.
because we keep the things that are very important on a different spot, different place, and we don't leak it out. But it was, I think, a couple years ago, before this AI wave. I don't remember who said that, but someone, one of the top tier one investors, or maybe Jeff Bezos, he said data is power before it was oil. And that is exactly it. At this point, data is very, very valuable. If you want to develop AI, you need to have data.
Okay.
And what we do is we help you find it. Well, we help you structure it. We don't find it for you. We structure it for you,
Hmm.
whatever you found. We didn't have, and then coming back on the security point, if someone comes to us and says, well, we have this questionable, very personal data about these people, and they don't launch it that way, but we understand that we don't parse that. That is at this point something that we don't do,
Hmm.
and it's a decision of the CEO, which is me. But I think there are companies who will do it, and if you stole that data, then you're probably able to parse it at a certain level anyway.
Yeah.
So data is going to be a big topic, and we're playing into that.
Agreed. So as we deal with a ton of a ton of ventures, what we've noticed is that there's really only three modes that exist at the moment. How quickly can you move vis-a-vis your competition? What kind of access do you have to data, especially proprietary data? And the third one, blanking out, so data velocity, distribution. What kind of distribution do you have? And what we're seeing is companies that learn how to use this data. And I'll give you a real example. So major oil and gas companies. So think that the super majors. What is like you said that you worked in Netherlands, so it's like what is Dutch Shell, Royal Dutch Shell, like a major oil and gas companies. And then you get the companies that were the service companies like Schlumberger that were essentially a service provider, but they were accumulating a ton of data. And there's actually a study by Australian professor in Australian University that proved that the companies that accumulated data, even if this wasn't the data, grew something like 4 times, 5 times faster than the company with the assets that were generating the data. And so to me, this is like there's no better example to show them to say, okay, well, if you wrangle your data, if you accumulate it, aggregate it, clean it up, like use it in a intentional way, there's a lot of value in this. I mean, and you said like, well, data is the new gold, and in many ways it is. Are companies taking this journey, or are they still like kind of like reacting to the situation?
No, they are. So what we see is that, I mean, this is part of our growth journey, of course. We need to
Hmm.
understand what the market is doing, but what we see a lot is that in the beginning, especially when companies saw that, they could replace workforce with AI, and they're like, oh,
Hmm.
that's amazing. So the board members are like, well, we can save money and become more profitable, and our stock value will increase because, we're more efficient. What they most of them did was, try and use an LLM because it's cheap
Hmm.
compared to building your own, and it's going to be easier. So they work in a demo environment. So when you have a small environment, it works. But as soon as unleash it on a big data set or within a big corporation, such as, just as an example, it's not our customer, but an SAP. It's a huge company, or an Oracle, or LVMH. Big companies that are globally known, multiple offices, big supply chains. So as soon as you unleash it in an environment that is that big, then it just doesn't work. It becomes expensive, it becomes slow, the accuracy is low, and then you
Hmm.
start to see that 80% isn't enough. And the bigger problem is that it hallucinates. So when it doesn't have information, it makes things up, which is a
Yeah.
big problem. You can't make things up in an environment that is that critical. So then they were like, oh, maybe LLMs are not gonna do what we do. And then a lot of these companies were, okay, we have to build our own. So they used, for example, a RAG
Hmm.
model framework. And then you see that that is also not enough because you still miss that part where you extract the data from all your data silos and your documents, all the
Hmm.
information. So that is actually something that where we add value. We are an API. So now it becomes valuable for us to slowly start to, integrate into these um, platforms that enterprises are building.
Hmm.
So that market is coming. It's maturing. It's not there yet because enterprise is a little bit, well, a lot more slower because that's how they get disrupted.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's just the nature of that animal. It's
Hmm.
not because they're losers. It's just how it works. Um, but that market is coming. And then another market that is coming, and you didn't ask, but I'll just share, but is the voice and video part, where
Hmm.
you said, I want to be able to say something to my CRM system, and then it does something for me.
Exactly.
Yeah, and that has a couple years to go because the accuracy is just low. And you can understand that when you watch these,
Yeah.
like everybody does that swiping. When you watch these, I don't watch TikTok, but I think TikTok also has that, and then
Yeah.
Instagram and YouTube. You have the subtitle where
Hmm.
someone says something and then it says, I don't know, like, oh, that's very cold, but it's just there is
Yeah.
a slip of the tongue, and it's then you see it's bold.
Yeah.
So it's not capable of, translating that, well. So you don't want to have these mistakes in enterprise environments, but it's coming. It's coming, of course.
So, I mean, you bring in a really good point. As I mentioned earlier, we using either 11 Labs or Telegram or WhatsApp as the voice interface to interact with our CRM systems. But the one thing, since March, my interface has changed. It became voice rather than my fingers. And what I mean by this, I use an app called Whisperflow. Um, and what I love about it is like I'm in the top 0.1% of users. So like in what 3 months I've spoken 500,000 words. And so I find it extremely efficient to use your voice to interact with systems a lot better than using my fingers. And for me, like this is my personal observation, what makes the difference is that you provide higher degree of context because you speak at typically 2 times to 3 times greater speed than when you input it via keyboard. And so better context or more context leads to better outcomes. So do you see this uh, continue to proliferate and essentially us changing your interface, what is voice, what is eyes, what is like, I mean, you said you work with Neuralink, kind of like, what's coming next? Tell me.
I mean, they're gonna put chips in people's brains and
Yeah.
then, have them have the computer in their head. It's not
Yeah.
it's not a secret. Then they have the hardware to do that. They have a lot of work to do, but it's gonna happen. It is
Hmm.
there. They had two people successful surgeries, and they're paralyzed, and they can now do things by
Yeah.
even just thinking about
Hmm.
stuff. So that's going to happen. I mean, I remember when, I don't know, I was 19 or something. I remember I had a phone call with a friend of mine. I had a Panasonic, and the thing that phone could do it, or a Nokia, I don't remember, but it was just a normal phone. Like normal phone for what we know. So two
Hmm.
colored screen, the pixels, and then the color of the screen, and then
Yeah.
that's it. And then I think a friend of mine went to this tech conference and or somewhere because it information wasn't that freely
Yeah.
flowing. Um, and he said, "Yeah, did you hear about what they're gonna do with phones?" And I was like, "Yeah, I heard about that. I don't even know where I got that information from." But I said, "Yeah, you can see each other when you have a phone call." And he was like, "Yeah, that's gonna be so cool." Yeah. And now it's like, yeah,
So
duh.
normal. Yeah. Yeah.
This is the same. So even
Yeah.
I remember that phone call. And this is the same with, having your computer interface implanted in your
Yeah.
body. It's going to be the next thing.
Yeah.
It's a bit futuristic. And if you don't want it, you just don't do it. I'm not going to do it. I'll just read more books and do more brain training. Just want to stay full human. I like that more. But there are people who are very interested.
Yeah. But but if you don't start adopting this, don't you feel that you're putting yourself at risk of becoming obsolete.
I think that everybody's so extreme about everything. I mean, I have other capabilities that maybe the computer doesn't have, so I will keep leveraging them. Maybe I'm really good in gardening and growing crops, then I'll just do that.
Hmm.
It's very nice to grow crops, by the way. It's very soothing. But is am I going to be absolute? Yeah, maybe, but
Yeah,
we'll see. And I kind of like being, this is very futuristic, but I like being human. I do
yeah,
not prefer to go to Mars because I like this planet. It's the best planet in the universe, by the way. We're the only one who have trees.
yeah,
No one else has that.
yeah, yeah,
So I think it's rebellious to stay human.
yeah. Ezra, you've lived in many different places. What's your favorite place?
Uh, this planet.
Well, no, no, I get this planet, but like if you can be in one city, um, in the world, where would you be and why?
I mean, I can't do that. I can't be in one spot, all year, nowhere else. It's just one place. I have no other place, or no other
Yeah,
group of friends that I need to visit because they
yeah,
have kids or whatever. I don't do that. It's nice to have a global way of living life. It's very
yeah,
empowering and it's freeing. But I think Istanbul comes pretty close at the top. It's
yeah,
it's a great hub. Everything is far but close as
yeah,
well. It's very, very challenging, so you never get bored.
yeah,
And then you have the sea. There is a lot going on. A lot of people travel through, like even
yeah,
friends from the US. I had a friend of mine. I was in Istanbul. He was flying from San Francisco to Sri Lanka. They just stopped and they have a day in Istanbul. I think it's a great hub. I think comes pretty close at number one, but not all the time. It's very tiring. I love Miami as well. I like Texas a lot because I like brisket, but I love Holland because it's so
yeah,
real. So yeah, it's impossible to choose. I love
um,
Italy because it's
yeah,
Italy.
yeah. Can we just double click on Istanbul? I mean, there's clearly something in the area in Istanbul. Like I look at Techstars opened three new cities as premier cities, and it was um, in Nebraska, one of them. The other one was Sarajevo in Bosnia and Herzegovina, and the third one was Istanbul. And that's where they see a lot of the growth and potential. Like, what's happening in Istanbul right now? Like, why is Techstars going there?
I think why would Texas go to Istanbul? I mean, probably there is an invitation, there is a sponsorship, there
Hmm.
is money that they can make there that they do
Yeah,
it because it's in the end of the day they're an investment firm, so there needs to be financial incentive
yeah,
after that incentive. And if that incentive is not big enough, then they wouldn't do. So either the incentive is really big, and I'm like now very business minded, but either the incentive is big enough or then it becomes there is an incentive and they
yeah,
believe the market. And when you
yeah,
look at you know gaming companies in Turkey, have multiple unicorns here.
hmm,
Then you have a lot of marketplaces that were really big. So the
yeah,
consumer market here in
yeah,
Istanbul is huge.
yeah,
It's 80 million people in Europe.
yeah,
Well, if you count it as Europe, it's in Europe. If you count it as the Middle East, it's still huge. Not like in Egypt or anything, but it's closer to understand. There are more rules, there is more laws, there is infrastructure. If you compare it to some of the larger Middle Eastern countries, um, so that must be the incentive. And then there is also a bridge to Central Asia that comes from Turkey. So I think that the exterior minister had a meeting with the exterior minister of Russia about, the Central Asian trade development plan. If we put all the wars and everything aside, So there is a lot of going on with, Central Asia, the bridge
Mhm.
between that and Turkey. So it's a hub. It can be anywhere.
Yeah,
It can be anything. So I think that there is a good reason why Techstars then thinks, oh, we can find startups and entrepreneurs because it's a hub, it's a connection
yeah,
point, or there is a big incentive. So who knows?
for sure, for sure. No, there's definitely a lot of energy around Turkey and Istanbul. And you have like famous investors like Munish Pabride, like for him, this is the number one place to look for investment because the values are fantastic, the scalability is fantastic. So, um,
Especially consumer businesses. I
mhm,
I don't want I don't want to get stoned, but personally, I wouldn't do B2B in Turkey. It's
yeah,
very difficult because they do a little bit more different business
yeah,
than what we know in Europe and the US because it starts to become Asia and the Middle East, so it's more on personal relationships and but B2C is amazing here.
yeah,
People have more of an American, consumer based
hmm,
mindset. You could
hmm,
sell a lot more than you could sell to a German
yeah, 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 yeah. Of course,
or
and
a
I mean,
Chinese.
yeah. Um, and I mean, Turks are very well known for being a good negotiator. And so that commercial mindset, it's gonna run through the veins.
Yeah, I think because it's a difficult country to live in, and the city has, Istanbul is 20 million people, so it's a very tough city. You
Hmm.
can't get around here if you're just
Yeah,
a nice person. You can be a nice person, but you have to, you need to ask for, you need to fight a little bit more for your spot in line than with your average country.
yeah,
And the people here are real hustlers, so they know how to start. There is this saying, I don't know if you know it, like start as a Turk, finish as a German. They're really good at starting things off. They're really, passionate about things. So they're really good at starting things. And, startup is
interesting.
that mindset, being
Yeah,
energetic, believing,
yeah,
even though maybe you don't have it all, but you believe in yourself and
yeah,
you get there. So it's
yeah,
it's pretty close to what it takes to start a startup.
yeah. I've never heard of this saying, but I now remember it.
I think it's in Dutch. I'm not sure, but I think we Dutch people say that.
Start as the third, finish as a German.
Yeah, but yeah, it is like that. You see them always like very passionate and starting off really
Yeah,
strong.
yeah,
Germans are good finishers. They,
yeah.
bring the
Absolutely, the
cards and everything. And
flawless execution. Um, what's what was the biggest mistake you've made in high rise, and kind of what's coming up next? What was the most challenging? What's coming up next?
I think that most founders have the same problems. Wrong hirings early on, that costs money and time. So having a team that works very well together, like a machine, is very important. And thinking like, well, this person is so good, maybe it doesn't fit the culture that we're trying to build, but it doesn't matter. Or it fits the culture, but it's not the best person.
Yeah.
You just make a mistake because you just want to hire fast. That's I think the first mistake that comes up in my mind. And then the second mistake is thinking that you don't, because there's always a competitor or technology that is about to evolve. So every second, every day is very mission critical. Like Elon Musk has that urgency mindset. And he is right. You need to have that urgency because, every minute costs money. It costs a lot of
Okay.
money. So yeah, thinking that you have time is a big mistake that sometimes we all have that. We will keep
Hmm.
doing that. But I think that that is one of the things that I made. That was one of my bigger mistakes.
Yeah. Interesting. And what's coming up next? What are you building?
Well, we keep on building better document intelligence. What we're gonna do next, what we're gonna release this year is one API endpoint. So you just send any document through one
Hmm.
funnel, one endpoint. Backend engineers would understand it better. But one endpoint, and then we understand which document it is. So
Hmm.
we read it and we let in the JSON outputs. So the outputs that we get when we structure it, we
Hmm.
tell you like, oh, this is an invoice. This is a
Yeah.
patient file. So that is the first thing that we're going to release. Next is the name change. We're going to change the name High Rise. That's going to be
Yeah.
sad. It's going to be field because that's
Yeah.
literally what we do. We extract data from fields.
Yeah.
So it's going to be field. And then towards the end of the year, we're gonna, roll out some beta use, or we're gonna roll out the voice and video parser for some of our beta customers or
Nice.
users.
Nice.
So it's gonna be a very busy day, and the team needs to grow, and then we need to close the seed round. So there is a lot of things to do.
Undoubtedly. I know we're coming on time. I like to close the interviews with a choice of a question. What's the best advice you have ever received, or what's the kindest thing anybody has done for you?
Oh, I mean, like the kindest thing that anybody has ever done for me. I think that I'm very lucky. People are very nice to me, privileged. I don't know why. But so I can name a lot of things. What is the nicest thing that anybody has done for me? I think my grandfather, for believing in me even when I was like, you know, 24 and thinking that, I was the best CEO of the world, big ego in your younger years. I think believing in me, what my grandfather did, that is the nicest thing because it really helped me. Having
Yeah.
someone who trusts you is very important.
Yeah.
Then you have like investors who put money in when you didn't have the numbers, customers who trust you, employees that, you're like, well, we can't pay this month because we haven't closed yet, but keep on working. That is amazingly nice. I think my team is amazing even when you're down, and when you're a founder, some days, not a lot, but sometimes you get down and your team is like, well, it's you, get up. So there are many niceties that
Hmm.
I can name. And then what was it, the biggest advice that I have for
The
people?
best advice, yeah. What's the best
Well,
advice?
I mean, the best advice is probably that I get is don't overspend your money for my Dutch grandfather. But I want to give my own advice to people
Yeah.
is that if you set a goal and you have that, two advice. You have that people say shoot for the stars and then you get to the moon.
Yeah.
Well, it's actually like set a big goal that is really far, because if you
Yeah.
set very realistic goals, like I want to raise the seed round or the pre-seed round,
Yeah.
your mind thinks, oh, pre-seed, and then I'm good. It starts to chill. But if you, especially with the World Cup going on now, if you said that I want to get in the pool, the first games, I want to join the World Cup, then
Yeah.
that's what you do. But if you try
Yeah.
to win the World Cup, that's a whole other journey. You
Hmm.
prepare differently, you train differently, everything is different. You're like,
Hmm.
well, won a game in, first three games. Doesn't matter. You have like 10 games to go. I don't know how many.
Hmm.
So set that big goal. Even if you stop halfway, your brain will keep working until you get at a really good pace.
Hmm.
At pre-seed, having a brain that is like, well, now we can chill is not good. That's how you feel. That is the first, and the second one is that with, especially because you do a lot on growth and GTM, um, is that a lot of people talk about, we spoke about that earlier, is that people talk about the low hanging fruits and go to the people that you can talk to and stalk people on the internet, etc. Well, you can go to the low hanging fruits if you know them, if you have them in your network. So make sure that you have a really big network. Be nice, be likable, be interested, and
Hmm.
be interesting. Be yourself mainly, don't be
Yeah.
crazy. Put yourself in situations where you can win.
Yeah.
And that is very important. So make sure that you have low hanging fruits when you need them. And it's very important to start it when you're very young.
Yeah.
And be
Okay.
especially a lot more charismatic when you're young and then working hard. The older you get, it's like, yeah,
Yeah.
everybody's somewhere. So start when you, especially start when you're young, be
Mhm.
charismatic, go out there, check in with people, not a lot, but be there and make sure that people remember you.
I couldn't agree more. I couldn't agree more. I mean, this is a great um, point to end. One thing that somebody told me, I wish I remember who it was. Your network defines your net worth. So how you build your network is super important. Like I recently, I don't read books, but I listen to books. Um, there's a book by Tina Seelig, who used to be a professor at Stanford, and she wrote a book on luck. I couldn't, I don't remember the exact name, but I can recommend it highly enough. This is a fantastic book about how to create your own luck.
Yeah, I think Malcolm Gladwell has Outliers, so maybe luck is
Yeah,
a good topic for him to write
yeah,
on as well. His last couple of books were that great. So with luck, yeah, like
yeah,
I really believe that I'm very lucky, and I am
yeah.
always very like my boyfriend is like, that's not gonna work. And I'm like, no, I'm very lucky. It's gonna be okay. I trust the universe. He's like, it's not gonna be like that. I'm like, see? And then it happens. I'm
Trust
like,
me,
see?
things are gonna happen. Yeah,
Now he's always like, how are we that lucky? I'm like, because I made you believe that you're also lucky. Like I think it sounds very corny, but when you believe it, that's how you look at the
yeah,
world. Look,
for
I'm
sure.
talking about things and I'm saying I'm lucky and everything is great and like I'm fun and bubbly. Look, I
Yeah,
have my low points. I even had like points where I'm like, maybe
everybody
God
does.
doesn't like me. Um, maybe that's the reason that I'm in pain for like a year plus because
Yeah,
entrepreneurship is very hard.
yeah,
But it's very important to keep on finding that place,
yeah.
continue. And I think, for example, if you look at Elon Musk, he's like a child. Like he's like
Hmm.
a child. I'm sorry. Um, and I think that is something very important that helps him. I think move forward because he's like
Yeah.
so childish about things. Also, his failures, he can forget about it. When you're more
Hmm.
mature, you get bitter. A kid is like, oh, I fell, but here's some
Yeah.
candy. I think that childlike mentality is very important. Lows are very low in entrepreneurship, and then highs
100%.
can be high. No, not everybody wins. I
Yeah,
lost, you lost, we all lost multiple times. And people remember only the good stories and they tell only the good stories. So I'm like, yeah, I'm so lucky. I'll tell you about good times that I wasn't.
yeah.
But it's
But I
very
think
important to keep the mindset.
I think people learn more from mistakes than they learn from success.
Of course. Of
Yeah,
course. I mean, you also probably have that. Like, I have moments where I'm like, well, this is tough. There is a lesson. I don't see it and I hate that. But, let's continue. Like what Winston Churchill said, if you go through hell, keep on going. And
yeah.
you
Okay,
have to do that.
okay.
It's tough. I don't want to be this I don't want my last words to be this on the podcast. But, Winston Churchill is not that bad.
Absolutely. Ezra, it was an absolute pleasure having you on. Ezra, the founder of Hire, soon to be founder of Field. Um, can't wait to see what you're building. Would love to continue the conversation. I think that what you're building is essential for companies. It doesn't matter what industry you're in, and so I think you're very well positioned to be at the forefront of anything that's coming up technology wise.
Yeah,
So thank
definitely.
you.
Thank you so much. It was great talking to you as well, Maxim. See you soon.
Absolute pleasure.
Bye bye.